It's March the 8th and it's the International Women's Day. Welcome to Business Morning. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.
And I'm Ini John Mekwa. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Well, happy International Women's Day to us.
Yes.
And of course it's hashtagged Choose to Change.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get the show started with a quick look at the major development in the world of business. Over the weekend, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced the introduction of what it called CBN Naira for Dollar scheme, an incentive for senders and recipients of international money transfers. Accordingly, all recipients of diaspora remittances through CBN license MITOs shall henceforth be paid 5 naira for every $1 received as remittance inflow. This is part of CBN's effort to sustain the encouraging increase in inflows of diaspora remittances into the country. Let's have Mr. Bismarck Rewane, CEO of Financial Derivatives, react to this quickly. Good morning, Mr. Rewane. Thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Good morning for having me.
So what does this CBN Naira for Dollar scheme mean? Could this mean an indirect way of devaluing the Naira?
No, I won't go as far as that. Let us say what the facts are. The facts are, this is a promo designed to increase awareness and the inflows of Nigerian diaspora into the system. 1. 2, according to the CBN, it's aimed at reducing the cost of remittances from the current cutthroat rates charged by the IMTOs. 3, it refers to examples in Pakistan and Bangladesh. And 4, it also wants more inflows to come through the IMTOs. That is the fact. What is challenging here, it's very unusual for policies to be tied around promos or gimmicks. Usually, promos and gimmicks are usually used by manufacturers to launch or push products, or airlines to, when they have low seasons, to tie to kind of promos, you buy one, get one free, or to revamp sagging sales. So it's very unusual and peculiar for governments to engage in gimmicks or promos. Anyway, the central bank says for 60 days, so it's a trial period.
Well, the scheme takes effect from today, March the 8th, and ends on Saturday, May the 8th. How much of an impact do you see this having in the liquidity issues, especially in the forex market? Okay,
true. The reality is that what we hear is that the estimated turnover is about $5 to $7 million a day, and it's expected to rise up to $30 million a day. In other words, 30 times 20 working days, you will get maybe $600 million. Well, but that is not the point. The point is that it is an effective depreciation of 1% of the currency, because ever since this year, the I&E window rate had gone all the way from 390 to 411. So if you add 5 naira, it's another 1%. Nominally, the exchange rate is unchanged, but in reality, it is depreciation of 1% de facto. Are there risks associated with these attempts? Yes, there are risks, because some people will round trip. Some people will try to use arbitrage of the system. But the fact is that Nigeria is number 6 in the world in terms of diaspora and workers' remittances. It's estimated about $23 to $25 billion. The current pandemic and unemployment rates in the U.S., Canada, and European Union and UK is also going to affect the ability of Nigerians to remit money in. Visiting friends and relatives have actually dropped sharply because of vaccination certificates and all sorts of the pandemic effect. So basically, in the end, I think it's a gimmick, it's a promo. The central bank will probably understand in the end that there's no other way of managing an exchange rate than converging them and making it, having one rate so that people won't stop exploiting it. In any case, you collect cash and you take it to the parallel market, autonomous sources to sell the market, and then you come back and you get a 5 naira. What could happen is that you could turn the 5 naira, the $1,000 back again to your brother, who will bring it back. So what could happen is that there could be, what I call playing with mirrors. The same money turning around, the velocity of circulation increasing, whilst the quantity or the quantity supplied into the market will not increase. So, but again, every innovation leads to some kind of creativity and will help. But in the end, let me put it this way. The price mechanism, the exchange rate, has to be market determined, and policymakers will intervene to preserve, to ensure that we don't suffer from shocks. But it's a work in progress, and then we'll wait and see what happens.
Absolutely, we'll wait and see. We'll just have 2 months. You'll call it a trial period. So let's see how that goes eventually. Thank you very much, Mr. Rwani, for sharing your time with us this morning. All right, let's not take the shine away from the women. It's our day, March 8th, a global day celebrating the social, economic, cultural, and political achievements of women. This year's event has the theme, Women in Leadership, Achieving an Equal Future in a COVID-19 World, and it's hashtag Choose to Change. Mrs. Fire Williams, the managing consultant at Simply Exponential Consults Limited, joins us now. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us on the program. Good morning and good to see you.
Good morning, Chimeze. It's good to be here again. Happy International Women's Day to all listeners all over the world.
We wish you the same here. Well, this year's International Women's Day is like no other as countries and communities start to slowly recover from a devastating pandemic. There is the chance to finally end the exclusion and marginalization of women and girls, but to that, according to the United Nations, we need immediate action. Women must have the opportunity to play a full role in shaping the pivotal decisions being made right now as countries respond and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, you have been at the forefront of female emancipation and leadership. How do you feel about today, and how would you want Nigerian women and girls to feel about the pursuit for gender empowerment and inclusivity in modern-day Nigeria?
As we celebrate the IWD 2021 today, with our own Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala as DG World Trade Organization, and Kamala Harris as the first woman Vice President of the most powerful country in the world, you know, the first African American to take on that role, I feel hopeful and, you know, confident that as women begin to show their capability and competence, they can indeed be identified into positions where they are able to make decisions that would affect the whole world. I would like to take a good example here. Mrs. Toki Mabugunje is the current president of the 132-year-old Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And in the COVID pandemic, she was able to stage the Lagos Trade Fair, a trade fair where you have millions visiting. And not only that, she brought in a new idea of the virtual trade fair, and that is going on into her legacy. So this is a woman who is at the table of decision-making and has brought in an innovation that will transcend her tenure into many more to come. Now, CBN has also regulated, you know, that there should be a minimum of 30% females on board of Nigerian commercial banks, but only about 30.7% of banks are adhering to this. MSME development funds say 60% of loans should be accessible to women. We need to see that laws are not just made, but are actually translated into action, like you have rightly said, Chineze. And with the 161 companies quoted on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, the SEC has recommended gender consideration for board member selection in public listed companies. But how much is that happening? We have 3 chairmen who are women in the 4 biggest banks. That is hopeful, like I said, but a whole lot more needs to be done, and it needs to be backed by legislation.
A whole lot more needs to be done. That's why some startling statistics reveal that there are no female CEOs in the 10 most capitalized companies on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Now, we do know that there are now executive directors and chairpersons, but no chief executive in the public sector. There are no female governors, no presidents, no VP. In the cultural level, it is a taboo to talk about female traditional rulers. So how do we enhance the struggle for female emancipation from the values of the past and make them change agents for the next generation?
Thank you, Chimeze. Just to add a little bit to your statistics, out of 4 countries selected, Nigeria has the least representation with 11%. Rwanda has 65%. We all know that that is a shining star in Africa. We have South Africa with 50%, Ethiopia another 50%, and Sudan has 28%. So where are we exactly? And if you look at the House of Rep, the Senate, you know, the figures are quite alarming. About 11% in House of Rep, about 7-8% in the Senate. It is worrisome. So firstly, we need a mindset shift from the, you know, past orientation, this girl child, boy child, women are supposed to be in the kitchen kind of cultural mentality. We need our parents now to give them equal opportunity. And I tell you, men need those life skills as well. So cooking, cleaning, it's a life skill. And it should be acquired by both the male and the female gender. You know, so it's now time to fight and confront this gender stereotyping and increase public awareness on why women should be given a seat at the table. They bring a whole different view to development, and they must be included.
Well, aside from the issue of, you know, a lot of men and a lot of cultural, you know, certain thinking that the kitchen is the place for the women. Now, Nigeria has been battling the issue of insecurity, particularly kidnapping, and there is this view that more of the children that have been kidnapped in schools are girls. Some even fear that this might be a disincentive for sending daughters to school. What do you think must be done to counter this notion and keep the momentum of girl education steady at this time of global competitiveness?
We need to empower parents in rural areas and educate them on the benefits of girl-child education and empowerment. The government also needs to provide a safe space for the girl child. I'll take off my management consultant cap now and put on my safety professional cap. The minimum that every child requires, even under the Child Rights Act, is safety. And the era of having boarding houses without perimeter fencing, without guards, is just not on anymore. And I would like us to say a prayer for, you know, the Zamfara, Jengebe, you know, girls who were just returned. They must have been traumatized. We had the Dachi girls before them, the Chibok girls before them. Some are still missing. Leria Sharibu is still in, you know, in some kind of detention somewhere. So we need to continually educate parents, tell them that in spite of these challenges, the female child needs financial empowerment, educational empowerment, and emotional empowerment. So I will call out these three basic needs of the girl child and encourage parents not to drop the idea of the girl child education, because that is a way to have a seat at the table and to be able to participate in the future of work, which is with us already.
Well, very interesting. You talked about empowering the parents, because that's actually where it starts from. But the journey to female empowerment has been tough. And there are some successes, though, worth noting. Like you mentioned at the beginning, you said we have Christian Jagad, we have Janet Yellen, we have, of course, the latest, Dr. Okonjo-Iweala. But every struggle has its fundamental weaknesses, the complacency of its champions and followers. What do you think that women in general and in Nigeria in particular should do to guard against complacency and potential failure in this major struggle of getting female recognition and equality?
Thank you, Chimeze. You know, it's interesting you mentioned Janet Yellen, because, you know, she's taken that space of the Secretary of State for the Treasury. And I remember, if I remember correctly, you know, Alan Greenspan or so used to occupy that position. And they said, when Alan sneezes, the whole of America catches cold. So now you have a woman in that position, which is really, really formidable and very encouraging. Now, what we need to do and what we need to realize is that the women groups, they are not sitting down twiddling their thumbs. You know, you have women groups like NECA's Network of Entrepreneurial Women. You have We Connect International, Nigeria branch. You have WIMPIS, you have Whisker. They are grooming women for board positions. So the women are coming. They are being equipped, you know, on writing the minutes and being able to participate and contribute actively. We also have some movements like Mr. Toye Cole, I think of Sahara Energy, Pastor Itwa. They are calling out the elite women, saying, you stay at home, you don't vote, you don't participate. The country needs you. And these women, including myself, we're beginning to realize that we don't really have a choice. If we want to participate, you can't do that from the background. You have to be in the fray. And I believe that women are beginning to change their attitude to participating in the highest decision-making echelons in the society. Now, we need to restructure our educational system to be gender sensitive by removing those textbooks in social studies that says the man is a breadwinner and the woman, is a carer. Both men and women should care and both should earn. Even you can earn as a housewife in your pajamas if you wish. You can run an online business. So achieving gender equality requires the elimination of harmful practices around women, like gender-based violence, and it requires more than tokenism. This tokenism is just not on. We need equal representation in positions of leadership. So we need to start breaking down the barriers. Now let's look at this affirmative action of 35% that the women were, offered. Under the Goodluck Jonathan administration, we had about 32%, but now under the Buhari government, we have only 11% representation. So recently, there's been a list of 50 powerful women in Nigeria, released by Mr. Femi Adesina. You have Abike Dabiri, you have the female ministers, you have Sadiya Farouk on the list, and we have people that you can see that they take their positions more than a job. They're passionate. Abike with the diasporians, the way she goes after those stories, gets the people who are trapped, repatriated home. You can see that it is more than a job. So you need to give women more of a chance to prove their mettle, to show their intuition, their compassion, their empathy, their organizational skills. And then we will have a better economy, I dare say, and a better Nigeria, a more caring society.
I agree with you. And women, of course, are more passionate to their jobs. But then what about managing the job and, of course, the home?
Work-life balance has been an issue not only for women, but even for men, I tell you. Because men tend to think that maybe because they don't have that caring role, they can overwork. And overwork has never helped anybody. So there must be balance. Now, for women, I would like to just tell a short story of Florence Seriki, God bless her soul. She was the founder of Omate. And she went to the Taiwanese embassy with a baby and said she wanted to go to Taiwan. And they looked at her and they said, babies don't go to Taiwan. She said, this baby is going to Taiwan. And the baby went ahead with her. She visiting all the trade fairs she needed to. She didn't leave her child behind. And while she was there, in spite of the time difference, she was calling to make sure the children at home had been woken up. They'd gone to school. They were collected at the right time. They had done their homework. So I tell you, women can multitask and they can achieve work-life balance. In my own situation, I had all my children's prize-giving days, sports days in my diary, just as I have an appointment with whichever CEO, So both kinds of jobs are quite important. The home is important, your work is important, and you achieve balance by juggling time, by making sacrifices. I just told you about how Florence Seriki, several hours behind time, she'd wake up and make sure that her home was running smoothly, even while she was away on a Taiwanese trade fair. So women can do it, and they have been this time immemorial.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to multitasking, women can do
Women
it.
are doing it. You
Of course.
are doing it.
Yes, I had my first
doing
baby while I was in school, writing my exams. I had my first baby.
And then you had the rest when you were at work.
Absolutely.
So
doing
women
this
are
particular
doing
work.
it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mrs. Williams. By the way, I have my colleague here, Ini John McQuarrie. She's presenting with me. You've been calling Chimeze, Chimeze. Well, I have a colleague here. Thank you very much.
Hi, Mrs. Williams.
This is collateral damage from being
It's okay. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for coming.
Okay, in the world of COVID-19, technology is way too important for women to be excluded from its development and use. And so this day also celebrates tech women and innovation. Mercy George Ibafe, a digital marketing strategist and CEO Lentor, joins us next. Well, Nigeria's technology sector may be rising, but seems to be leaving the women behind. The participation of women in the Nigerian tech sector is low in a survey of 93 technology firms by One Campaign and the Center for Global Development. Only about 30% were owned by women, mostly concentrated in e-commerce and enterprise solutions. Of the 93 surveyed tech firms, only 6 had a woman in a top management position, while still more than 1/3 of the survey tech firms employed no women at all. How do we change this narrative? Mercy George Ibafe, CEO Lentor, joins us now. Good morning, Mercy. Thank you very much for having you on the show.
Good morning, channels, and happy International Women's Day to everyone and all viewers at home.
Well, wish you same. Well, technology has been a male-dominated field through the years. What has changed, and how does it feel operating in a male-dominated sector?
Honestly, I feel that it's a very daunting experience, taking on the baton that I've taken today. Number one, I'd like to say one of the reasons women are kind of alienated from the tech space, we ourselves are the problems. So number one, you need to be skilled for you to compete with men. I'll give you a practical example. Lentor, every time I put out campaign for digital marketing, I have more women apply for that. Actually, the percentage of women that apply is almost sometimes 85%. But whenever I put training out with Lentor on data analytics, design thinking, agile, Scrum Master, whatever certification with the partnership that we have, the shocker for you will be more men apply for those training. So for you to have a competitive edge against the men, you need the skill, you need the competence. We ask for more women inclusion, but how skilled are you? I'll give you a backstory. Cohort 1 we finished. We had over 600 people apply for the course. The conversion was low. But because women were exposed to data analytics, data privacy, business analysis, project management office, we had 80% women conversion, which is quite fascinating to me. I didn't quite understand it. What is the disconnect that you have more women? Once they're exposed to these skills, they run like they've left something behind or something is chasing them. So number one, we need to get it right. For women to be on the table to compete with the men, you need the skills. But the thing that we are focused on is heavy on certification. And by the way, I recommend everybody to play back and go back on Channel's website to watch the guest that was on here and the stats that she gave. Number one, we have a mindset problem for women. Number two, we have a victim mentality. I have to be part of them. You need the skill to compete, number one. Number three is an imposter syndrome. We feel like we are frauds, even when you have the skills relevant for you to compete. So these are some of the challenges that has impeded women from, and given them the, restricted them from being competitive in a male-dominated industry. We have partnership with Kanban University, with Scrum.org. It's because of the work we are doing, and our key passion is to bridge the gap. We are building capacity, and we are succeeding. We have record number of women that are exposed to this industry, and the testimonial, it's unprecedented. Mrs. Adiola Aziz is one of our students on cohort 2. which I'm just in awe of. I know in a testimonial, which is on our YouTube channel, says that I wish I know what I know today when I was age 20. So I can imagine how far she will go. She's already at the peak of her career, retired as a banker with Deutsche Bank. But now she's now relearning the relevant skills to give her the competitive edge. And she's 60. So some of us, we need to just pull the bull by the horn. Don't be afraid to come into this space. I'm begging for more women to come into the space to get the relevant skills that will change the game for them. We are building capacity and we are seeing it work. So it's Lento. You come to Lento, our students are getting trained in data. They understand the power of business intelligence. They understand the power of project management office. They see data, they know what to say. This outfit I'm wearing is one of our students. She is in Abuja. And that is the success that we've recorded. Someone that has been in HR, but now she has elevated her skill by adapting agile mindset to the way she works, by adapting, knowing how to use data as an HR specialist. So I want to tell you, this space is not as complicated and very scary as a lot of women think it is. The reason we run after digital marketing and social media marketing skill is because we are in a survival mode. I have product, I have to sell. If you know today that an average Scrum Master earns over 135,000 US dollars. I'm not going to stop saying it. An average data analyst.
So just a minute, Mrs. George, just a minute. So like you said, it's time to change the mindset. Even Mrs. Williams mentioned that. And like you said, there are opportunities for women to get the training, and yet, you know, they're not embracing it, or a lot of women are not embracing it. Now, when we talk about changing of the mindset, sometimes it sounds vague. What are some of the steps you think that, I mean, as a mother, as individuals, as employees, that we can work on this changing of the mindset? What are some of the strategies that can be used?
My story, because I feel my story is always powerful. I know I was coming to channels this morning. As a mother, I have to drop my children in school. And I have to post my content because I wanted to be on channels. As a woman that is in tech, I need people that are following me or that are not aware of tech to listen to what we're saying. Today, they've been able to learn from Mrs. Williams, from what she has said. They're going to learn and be motivated. I had to post that. So it requires sacrifice. Sometimes I walk 18 hours stretch. Sometimes I walk 20 hours and get like only 4 hours of sleep. So we have to now reorganize the way we work. I started in this space not because I have 20 years experience. I've been in the banking sector. I've worked with channels. I've learned how to do hairdressing because that's who we are as women, especially limited by a lot of things. So for instance, one of my clients, she would do buying and selling of clothes or krika. She's selling wig today. She's not selling wig tomorrow. She's selling shoes tomorrow because we need to feed our families. But if only she can sacrifice, the next 3 months, 6 months, I will devote time. Learn the relevant skill that will give me a competitive edge. There's so many training online. YouTube is our #1 friend. Google houses the world's content. 95% of the world's content is sitting on Google. The question is, how many things are we learning on Google? You can learn how to learn design thinking by leveraging Google. But with Lento, we give you hands-on practical experience. We have built capacity, and I'm just blown away by the cohort too. The caliber of people. Mrs. Ansatu Adegbite is one of the students. Mrs. Adiola Aziz is one of them. I have one of my students that paid to come and train with me. She is volunteering to work with Lento. These are some of the things that we need to do. It's our mindset. You're not just only a wife. You're not just only a mother. You're not just only a business owner, but you can have a competitive edge even in a male-dominated environment by not feeling like I can't do it. Nigerian women are the most brilliant women. We have Dr. Okonjo-Iweala. They are brilliant women if only they can evolve, learn data analytics, understand their opportunity. You can be in Nigeria and be earning dollars. You can be agile.
All right, Mercy, I have to interrupt there. Mercy, I have to interrupt there. So how can Nigeria tap into the full potential of the women fold economically?
Now, like I still said, skills is very key. So how do you tap into the benefit? Number one, join communities. Communities are great. Wimbies is doing a phenomenal job of bringing a lot of women, pulling them out of their shells and giving them the stage for them to succeed. I just did a digital transformation for Wimbies. So for a woman, you want to learn and you're like, this is too hard for me. I just told you about Mrs. Aziz. She's 60 years old. She's sitting on boards. She's going to revolutionize a lot of companies. Number two, wherever you are, you can learn now skills. How do you compete? You need to join communities. You need to start to read. You need to maximize Google for information. You need to maximize every asset that is available to you. One thing that we have as women that we don't know, and the irony is more women use the most expensive phone, but they don't learn. So how do we change that narrative for women as how do I learn? Lento offers you that. We have a free career open day that is starting today from the 7th till the 10th. It's free. It's open to everyone. If you go online, you can go and apply and be part of the process.
So let's look at it from the government side. Hello, Mercy. Hello, Mercy. So let's look at it from the government. Now, we know that the women, we have a lot of responsibility. We need to take up. I mean, I don't think anybody would just come and tell us, oh, come and take the goodies. Everybody wants to get it, so you have to go out to get it. But from the government side now, what support do you think the government can give to the women to forge ahead when it comes to innovation through technology?
I think I gave up on the government side for a long time now. The reason is I think the government, they're overwhelmed. I'm not blaming anybody. How can the government help women and create more inclusivity? By creating more opportunity. Number one, for you to get into the government, you must be in the political sphere. You must be seen, you must be heard. They will need to know that, yes, this woman is capable for them to give her an opportunity. You have Abike Dabiri, she was with channels before, now she's serving on opportunity, but she's actively involved in politics. So in Nigerian government, I think you have to play a lot of part in the political sphere for you to be relevant. But in terms of government creating an enabling environment, for me, I've not seen that kind of support. As an entrepreneur in Nigeria, I'm building and developing capacity. I've not gotten that support. But number one thing government needs to do to change the trajectory for a lot of women is restructure our educational structure system. I have trained ages 6 to 18 on digital skills. And we had 9-year-old female come up. I have a current cohort too. She is a student in Nigerian university and has never been exposed to business analysis, never been exposed to these skills. India starts to train, Asian countries start to train their women, their boys, their girls, digital skills from when they are small. One thing the government needs to focus on, all their arsenal, work with organizations like Lento to help. And there's so many of us out there to help with the restructuring of the educational system so that the people can learn right. We have people with MBA, PhD, MSc, but they can't get a job. Many of them are running out of the country. They will go and be cleaning toilets in Canada. They will go and be cleaning dead bodies. With their BSc, with their MBA, we know families that are doing this. But if we have been learning right, exposed to the right skill, we would have changed the game long time ago. So the area that I am more concerned for government to create more inclusion for women is restructure our educational system.
All right, I'm sure they are hearing that. Thank you very much, Mercy. Well, by the way, a point of correction there. Abike was with NTA and not all channels television there. All right, thank you very much, Mercy, for sharing your time with us. Okay, a quick one just before we get to the markets. Let's look at what the oil market is doing today. Of course, international benchmark Brent crude futures popped during Asian trading hours this Monday morning, moving above $70 a barrel for the first time in more than a year. The surge in oil prices came after Saudi Arabia said its oil facilities were targeted by missiles and drones On Sunday, Brent jumped 2.65% to trade at $71.20, while U.S. crude futures rose 2.56% to $67.78. Saudi Arabia's Ministry of Energy said a petroleum tank farm at one of the world's largest oil shipping ports was attacked by a drone, and a ballistic missile targeted Saudi Aramco facilities. Analysts say such acts of sabotage do not only target the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, but also the security and stability of energy supplies to the world and therefore the global economy. Okay, let's look at the market now and see how, of course, it's a new week, how today, and of course the week is starting off with Eddie. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning, Timmy. Happy International Women's Day to you.
I wish you same.
Well, it's interesting to know that on Saturday, I spoke with the chairperson of the Capital Market Literacy Committee, who interestingly is a woman, you know, and I raised the issue of not having a lot of women in the capital markets, and she said she is concerned, but then they're actually, you know, working on putting things in place to encourage more women into the financial services sector. So hopefully this year, we should be seeing more products targeted at women in the market. So we'll just keep our fingers crossed as we welcome more women into the market this year. But just to the market numbers, last week the market was down 1.18%, and that's the 5th consecutive loss in the market, with the all-share index at 39,331.61 points, while the equity cap was at 20.578 trillion naira. But to talk more about the market is Rotimi Fakaejo, a stockbroker. Good morning, Mr. Fakaejo. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Good morning.
So we saw the largest weekly loss so far this year. I mean, this is coming from a time where the month of January, the year began on a positive note. We saw a 5% increase on year-to-date performance, and then now we're down to -2%. How long is this bearish run going to continue in the market?
Well, we need to look at the factors that are responsible for the bearish run. Like you said, the market starts on a very good note as of January, and then nothing changed until the CBN started changing goalposts. That is, when the fixed income assets, when the rates began, when the yields began to get better and on the upwards continually, I think that is when the fear and the apprehension came into the equity market. We've seen a lot of equities ordinarily that should have done exceedingly well by now, maybe gaining up to 15–20%, especially stock like Zenith Bank, which posted a fantastic result and also an overwhelming dividend yield to the investors. But at the same time, we are seeing a downward trend in virtually all the sectors. And the year-to-date position of the market now is -2.38%. So this trend will only stabilize or continue if the CBN continues with what they are doing. And there is every likelihood that they are definitely going to continue that way. We have seen Treasury bill at about 5%, Homo instruments at about 10.5%, savings bond at close to 5% for some, depending on the tenor. And I think that this definitely is not a good time, a good event that is culminating in other things for the equity market. So I believe strongly that with good fundamentals still being posted by the market, more investors will be able to see more clearly and take advantage. So if that happens, then definitely the bearish run will begin to come to an end gradually. But if otherwise, we're definitely going to see a little more of it.
All right, Mr. Fakaejo, thank you for your input on the program. Rotimi Fakaejo is a stockbroker. Well, we saw volume and value rise last week compared to the previous week's session. We saw 2.09 billion units worth 29.74 billion naira traded in 24,687 deals. The sectoral performance was mostly negative. The banking sector was down 1.94%. Consumer goods, was a major drag in the market. We saw losses from Nigerian breweries. We saw losses from flour mills. We saw losses from some other, key sectors on that, key stocks on that counter. Industrial goods was the only gainer for the week last week. Insurance was down 4.99%, while oil and gas was down 2.16%. The unlisted securities markets was also negative last week with a huge decline of 2.33%, with the market cap at 400.32 billion naira. But I guess we'll have to stop there on the market review. Over to you, Chimi.
Right, thank you very much, Eddie. Well, let's just hope that we'll probably kind of have more women buy into stocks or any other assets there for investment. You know, women are more, you know, risk averse, so they hardly go into the stock market, for instance. But let's just hope perhaps after now we'll begin to see more women take on more assets. Okay, fine, we'll take another break, and then when we come back, we do an opening call to London.
And for updates from the streets of London, let's talk to Juliana. Hello, Juliana. Happy International Women's Day.
Happy International Women's Day, Chimaze.
Well, for today, how is that being marked in London? And how would you say, or what did you say is the level of gender diversity when it comes to FTSE 100 and FTSE 250 listed companies? What's the equality, you know, the women representation there? What's it like?
Well, sorry to dampen the mood, but it's not a story that's gained any headlines in the UK today. I'm sure you all know that what people are talking about here is Prince Harry and the Duchess of Sussex, plus children have gone back to school. So, yes, it's very, very, very low on the agenda, which is sad because typically, if not for the pandemic, there'd be several networking events, big conferences, discussion points. And this has really picked up since the hashtag #MeToo movement swept the globe. globe. The Choose to Challenge theme this year is coming at a significant period where a lot of people are talking about race and gender equality, particularly in the corporate world. I believe a couple of weeks ago, the Hampton Alexander Review put out a report saying that the FTSE 100 and the FTSE 250, as well as the 350, so the most profitable firms in the UK, have been hitting the targets of meeting and getting 33% of representation around the boardroom. But there's still a very, very long way to go in this country. They are doing their best, but certainly when it comes to women, and particularly women of colour, Britain, needs to pull up its socks.
Well, before we go to another matter, Juliana, how are you celebrating yourself today?
Well, by working, actually, there are several events that I'll be speaking at. Not today, but over the course of the month. I think a lot of women, especially in the UK, are trying to make International Women's Day not necessarily a day, but more of a month. So yes, people can look out for that over the next. All
right. So the government
and it's my birthday coming up.
Well, happy birthday, early happy birthday to you. Well, the government has asked the Low Pay Commission to review a rule exemption leaving domestic workers from minimum wage regulation. What's the prompting of this?
Yeah, this is a really interesting story. I think over the years, a lot of individuals have jumped into the loopholes surrounding domestic workers, and the government have typically put domestic workers underneath the bracket of family members. So these are people that live in a home, pretty much like an au pair. I think they may call it house help in Nigeria. You stay in the house, you can clean, you can look after the children. But over the years, especially now that there's been more awareness about human trafficking, a lot of individuals have been using this loophole to really take advantage of predominantly young women. Many of these women are treated absolutely horrifically and end up having to run away from the homes that they've been brought into work. This has been brought up now by the government. The business lobby group have asked the government to conduct a review, which they will be doing so, into making a minimum wage also applicable to those who are domestic workers, to stop them being taken advantage of. And again, this is a story that's particularly affecting young women.
So it's a new business week. What should we be expecting in both the corporate world and in data?
It is a new business week. Yes, apart from Harry and Meghan this week, a lot of people are going to be focusing on GDP data. We've got GDP data coming out on Friday. It's pretty significant. We just managed to scrape out of going into a double-dip recession at the beginning of this year, because GDP in the last quarter grew by 1%, and that was because of December and people rushing and flocking to buy Christmas presents. In December, it grew 1.2%. We're expecting January's GDP to have contracted by about 5.6%, which is not great. And yes, we will be having a very good forensic look at that on Friday, Chimeze.
Well, it's not Chimeze, it's Ini.
Well, you're talking to Ini, and well, Chimeze is right.
I'm talking to Ini. Oh my goodness, I had no idea. Ini,
Okay, happy International Women's Day to you, of course, Juliana.
Is that Chimeze?
No, Chimeze is talking.
But first it was Ini.
Happy International Women's Day, and happy birthday in advance. Expect my gift there. We'll talk to you later in the day. Of course, you'll be talking to Laddie later in the day. Okay, let's look at the crypto markets there. And I guess Laddie is ready to tell us all that we need to know there. Laddie, how much of women do we have in that space?
Well, we actually have, some women that trade Bitcoin, but I don't know the amount, though. But happy International Women's Day to you and Ini.
So thank you. And we also have women that mine.
Oh, yeah, we have women miners. Women are everywhere. We can't short women. Our women trade, women mine, they do everything that men do. So it's all good. All right, let's look at the market now. The market cap stands at $1.568 trillion. We have a 24-hour volume, $109.87 billion, up about 16% in early trade this morning. Bitcoin dominance has gone down, now at 59.97%, down 0.18%. Well, let's look at the price of Bitcoin at 8 a.m. this morning, traded at $50,166, up 1.88%. 24-hour volume, $45.933 billion. I don't know if we have Solomon on the line now. Hello, Solomon.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Solomon. So a paid network has been in the news. They recently got hacked, and about 50 million tokens were minted and dumped on the market, and dumped the price from over $2 to about 26 cents. What's happening?
Yeah, actually, that was quite crazy. It happened about 2 days ago. Their contract was actually been hacked, and it was a massive dump, which so many persons fell for it, actually. You know, the price dumped from about $2.8 down to 80 cents, and so many persons were thinking it was a great opportunity to purchase the paid token, not knowing that they were just selling their tokens to the hacker, and it was crazy.
So I believe this is one of the risks we talk about in the crypto space, you know, like hacks like this now. But how would the investors that were holding, how would they be compensated at this point?
Yeah, actually, the CEO of Paid Network, Kyle, he actually made a statement, an interview with Ivan on Tech, and that was about 15 hours ago. So he already said they'll be launching the version 2 later today, and all token holders will be rewarded back with their tokens. And we expect the price to go back to over $2 within a month or thereabouts. So the problem now is for those that bought when the dump happened, yes, about 2 days ago. So for those ones, they would actually be refunded back the amount of paid they bought, and for those that sold, they would actually have their token back. So it would seem like they didn't actually sell. So I think it's actually a fair plan to compensate the investors, if you ask me.
Okay, so you're telling me there are no losses at this point?
Yeah, at this point, no losses. All that happened was, let's say you were holding about $10,000 worth of paid, it just dumps to about $800. So all you have to do is
that's a massive dump.
It goes back up. Yeah, it was massive.
Okay,
really massive.
We'll keep tracking that story and see how it goes. Solomon Amunde, thank you so much for joining us as always. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, so let's look at the top price of Ethereum. $1,723, up 3% this morning. 24-hour volume, $24.862 billion. Top 5 gainers, we have Engine and Mana. The NFT craze goes on, 33% up and 25% up, Mana and Engine. So NFT plays are still doing good today.
It's just started, and it's just early morning for now, for Monday. So we'll see how Bitcoin eventually ends the day. Let's just hope, perhaps for me, I would say, let it come down a little bit and give a chance to those that may probably want to buy. And by the way, you talked about women doing what men would always do. Yes, you've forgotten what a man can do, a woman can do even better. All right, Ladi. Okay, Ini, well, I guess, I'm sure you have interest in that Bitcoin.
Yes,
and you are looking at some of the alts there.
Yes, but like you said, I'm waiting for Bitcoin to come to maybe like 20.
Well, I don't see you to be that risk appetite person.
Yeah, but you know, Mrs. Williams and Mercy talked about changing our mindsets, you know, embracing.
You have to go in and, you know, yes.
Hashtag innovation for challenge. Yeah, so I'm going to challenge this mindset.
Absolutely. All right, that's it on the program. Thank you for watching. I'm Chimeze Obi Iwago.
And I'm Ini John Mekwa. See you tomorrow.